Need of the moment right now is all India should have a jobs so they can pay their bills. IP makes you feel good. It doesn't do anything for you. You don't eat IP. We became the implementers of the IT applications all over the world. We employed 5 million people, built an industry which is worth $300 billion that pays for petroleum that we import. We spent $300 billion in public sector investments. You can do your calculations. That $300 billion produced no wealth. China has 100% literacy. China has top-notch university now. China had no university in top 10. Now they have 6 in top 10 because they've been investing in education. India has just become number 4 economy in the world. We were number 1 in 1800 when the British took over. Can we dream to reclaim our rightful place of being number 1? I'm not saying now, 50 years from now. We should play the long game. India went from 5 IITs to 23 IITs. Can we go to 100 IITs? Can we go to 1,000 IITs over the next 20 years? We went from 500 entrepreneurs to 2 lakh entrepreneurs. Can we go to 1 million entrepreneurs by 2030? Can we go to 10 million entrepreneurs by 2047?
He was among the $8 men who left India in the 1960s to try the luck in the United States, carrying little more than ambition and an engineering degree. He was fired from his first 3 jobs and yet went on to become a Silicon Valley CEO. He was the first Indian entrepreneur to take a venture-backed company public on Nasdaq. He made and lost a fortune in the dot-com boom and bust. He is a groundbreaker. Hello and welcome to the Escape Velocity podcast, where we talk to the movers, shakers, thinkers and doers of the tech and the startup ecosystem. Today we have with us Mr. Kanwal Rekhi, a founder, investor and mentor to thousands of Indian entrepreneurs. Welcome to the Escape Velocity podcast, Mr. Rekhi. You were among the first Indians to be called the $8 men and land in the US. Can you tell us who were the $8 men?
Yeah, so I don't know if you remember the movie Around the World in $8. Back in 1967, 67, we were allowed to leave India with only $8 in our pocket. You could buy, India had a shortage of foreign currency, and they were, husbanding their resources. And if you wanted to do overseas, you were allowed only $8. So everybody who left India around that time was, $8 man, because that's all we were allowed.
But you were an IITian. You had graduated from IIT. There was a lot of building going in India at that time. Why did you leave India? What prompted you to go to the US?
No. There wasn't any building going on in India. There was no businesses, no industry, there were no jobs.
This was the mid-60s.
There were no jobs in India. There was a famine in India in 1966. The best you could hope to do was to become a management trainee, a sales trainee for a foreign company. You could not get a technical job, engineering job, design job at all. The planning commission had built IITs, but forgot to create jobs for them. So most of us, what do you do? So we all went to US to study, do our higher studies. There was no higher studies in India. IITs were undergraduate schools. There was no. So, America, on the other hand, opened up. It opened up because they were falling behind Soviet Union in space. Russia had launched Sputnik before America put a satellite in America, so they felt very threatened, and they realized they didn't have enough engineers, so they opened up the dates for us. So they invited us, and we went.
And then you landed in the US. How was the reception that you got in America?
Well, Americans were amused. We are coming from India. They had zero expectation of us. They didn't think we will amount to much. But they were nice and welcoming. Sure, come on in and see what you can do. So that was the attitude they had.
So what did you study, sir, then, and in the US?
So we all had the undergraduate degree in engineering from India. So we did our masters, and many of us did our PhDs. So I did a master's in electrical engineering in America.
And then I read in a book that you were laid off from the first 3 jobs. What happened there? You were a nerd. You went to IIT, you went to the US to study, and then you were laid off from your first 3 jobs. How did that happen, and what did it do to you?
So 1970, 1971 were bad years in America. I finished my master's in 1969. We put a man on the moon in 1969. The US had no follow-up programs after the man on the moon. So they had set a goal to put a man on the moon and bring him back by the end of the decade, which they had done. But there were no plans to do anything new. NASA was a very big employer of engineers. NASA contractors were a very big employer of engineers. So all of a sudden, there were engineers who were employed by NASA were being laid off. By 1971, America was also, mini computer industry in America was starting to consolidate. There were 30, 40, 50 mini computer companies, and they were all failing. The winner had emerged in digital and data general. So all of a sudden there was no demand for engineers. Especially, when we think of America, back then we thought of New York, New Jersey, East Coast. But there was this new stuff happening on the West Coast in California. The new industries were forming around the chip industry, semiconductor industry. Still very, very nascent, early startups. Intel, AMD, National were startups. But there were plenty of jobs there. So I moved to California in 71 from East Coast to West Coast. And those 3 jobs, 3 layoffs, they're tough. They're tough. All of a sudden, you don't have an income. But none of them lasted more than a month. I always found a job within a month. So it wasn't that bad. And after my 3rd layoff on the West, came down to California, and then I never had a layoff after that one.
And were these layoffs in the East Coast or the West Coast?
Layoffs were everywhere. My layoffs were on the East Coast, in New Jersey and in Florida.
And then you went to California and you never looked back.
Yeah.
So what happened when you landed in California? And what was Silicon Valley like in those days?
So Silicon Valley was not called Silicon Valley. It was called Santa Clara Valley. A lot of new stuff happening. A lot of entrepreneurs doing chip companies, Nationals, Intel, AMD. I mentioned Sidnarids. There were lots of startups, and there was a lot of excitement. This is let's say 71 when I arrived there. But chip companies, started to do well. They started to do microprocessors. Microprocessors got into, people started to do personal computers, system computers. It needed software. So software startups happened, and eventually, it needed networking, and networking startup happens, and I was one of the people who did the networking startup. Then networking became internet startup has happened. That became web. A lot of the web startup happened. Social, local. So that thing has gone from one thing to the other, and now is AI, right? And so Silicon Valley became very, very hyperactive, like a nuclear reactor. It kept spinning new and new ideas and new startups.
In Silicon Valley, at some point, did you feel, because in your book you say that, in the beginning you were always looking to find out your identity, you were exploring. When you landed in Silicon Valley, Did you feel now this is me?
No.
I have found myself.
No, not yet, not yet. I had been laid off 3 times.
Yeah.
So I had a pretty low self-esteem. Yeah, I was trying to find a stable place, where I could work and see if how many did. It took me 2 to 3 years, before I discovered, that I was very good engineer. People liked what I was doing, and I gained a lot of confidence. But that was 2 to 3 years. 74, 75, I was starting to feel very, very good.
And then you became a CEO. How was that journey like? For an Indian to become a CEO in Silicon Valley at that?
So I didn't become a CEO for another 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah. So I became very good engineer, became very senior engineer. Everybody respected me. Everybody thought I was the best. By 1982, we weren't getting promotions to become managers. We were still engineers. We're getting promotion to next, senior engineer, staff engineer, senior staff engineer. But no responsibility for anybody, no responsibility to manage anything. And all of a sudden I realized that we were typecast, as a techies, and I'm 34, 35, and I'm stuck. There's no way for me to become a manager, no way to move up the ladder. And I'm only 35, and I'm already at the top of the technical ladder. There's no place else to go. So that's when I said, maybe I need to do my own startup because they won't promote me. And I left in 1982 to do my startup.
Was it because you were an Indian?
Yes, absolutely. Because, America is a white man's world, right? And Indians came as students, they were hired as engineers and programmers. There was, like I said, there was no expectations from us. They didn't think we could sell, we could market, we could manage money, become general managers. No Indians had done that. There was no expectation to promote us, and so once that happens, then you have to decide: am I happy being engineer for the rest of my life, or is there any way I can become a get into management? The only way to get into management was to do your own startup.
But so ultimately you were made the CEO. What was the turn of events?
Well, so in my startup, there were 3 of us. Myself, Dr. Indra Mohan Singh, and Dr. Naveen Jain. Indra Mohan was from IIT Kharagpur. He had done his PhD at Yale. He had gone to Doon School. He was very polished. He was very presentable person. I was from IIT Bombay. I had done my master's. I didn't do my PhD. I had speech issues, and I wasn't very presentable. So Indra became the CEO because his English was very good, and Naveen became the VP of software development. So Naveen and I did the designs of the hardware and software that we were selling, but Indra turned out to be not very good, and he got fired by the board. He got fired by the board because we were not meeting our numbers, and that's when I got the promotion to become CEO. Interim CEO, not a final CEO. They told me, all right, we are removing him, you step in and hold the place, don't spend much money, and while we go find a CEO. So I ended up getting this battlefield promotion, and I turned the place upside down. And within 6 months we were growing very nicely, we were profitable, everybody was very happy. So I have a chapter in the book, meeting of the CEO, what I had to do. I had to stop being an engineer, understand, ultimately we have to make sales. For sales to happen, I need to market the product better. So I came out of engineering, and moved my office into sales, and we did some nice marketing, and leads started to happen, sales started to happen, and all of a sudden we are growing nicely, and then I had to sort of adjust prices. I raised prices of software, quite a bit, and the company was very profitable.
Sir, as an immigrant, as an Indian immigrant in the America at that time, and from being from a middle class family from India and the middle class of that time, how did you decide that you were going to be an entrepreneur there? You must have been scared. I mean, there would be real consequences for you in America if it had failed.
So by 1981-82, I have been in America now 13-14 years. And so I'm not thinking of myself as being Indian. I'm thinking of myself as an engineer in America, in Silicon Valley, who's not getting promotions. And I'm very good. I'm not happy being just an engineering guy anymore. And so they became entrepreneur out of necessity. If I think I'm very good, if I think I need to be made manager, then I have to prove to them that I am capable of being a manager. By the way, nobody was helping us. Nobody was helping me, but nobody was pulling me down either. We were left to our own means. So so if I think I can be a manager, I have to step out of my engineering job, take the risk, do my startup and show it to them. And so somebody had to do it, right? And I was the lucky one who had a chance to make it happen.
Were there any VCs or angel investors at the time?
There were no angel investors. We put some of our own savings, but there was a VC. It took us almost a year to raise money, but there was a VC who stepped forward and invested $2 million in our company.
Nice, sir. And then, so I want to understand, then your startup became successful, and then you became an investor. You went on the other side of the table. And then the dot-com bubble happened, where you got a setback that you've mentioned in the book. What happened there, sir?
So it wasn't that straightforward. I became successful CEO. We took the company public. We did a merger with Novell. I worked at Novell for 6-7 years. And again, the same thing happened. I am now in my 40s. I'm doing really well, but they passed me over for CEO job at Novell. Somebody else, they brought somebody else, and I said, maybe. So I moved on from Novell. When I moved on from Novell, I wanted to take some time off, 6 months to a year off before I thought I would decide what to do. But meanwhile, we had started this group called the TIE, the Indus Entrepreneur, because we had realized there were 6-7 of us that we had very lonely journey. Nobody believed in us. Nobody encouraged us. Nobody inspired us. Nobody thought we were any good. And they said, it shouldn't have been that hard. Maybe we should become the role models. Maybe we should become the mentors. Maybe we should encourage and inspire our young people to become entrepreneurs. And so that was the start of TIE. And once that happened, I got pulled in because there was a huge need, huge demand. And in 1995, we thought we'll do 1993, we thought we'll do a workshop for entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley, in San Jose. And we thought, maybe 100 people will show up. So when we announced that workshop, 500 people signed up. Oh my God, yeah, a lot of Indians want to be entrepreneurs. So I never looked back after that one. I started to mentor people. I started to maybe even invest in them. So it was very satisfying experience. Even though I had in the back of my mind, I'll do another startup. I got so busy, mentoring and investing in the company, and I started to make good money. And so there was no need to do the another startup. So from 1985 till 1995 to 1999, very active in Thai, doing very thin. Year 2000, was the start of dot-com crash. Started to crash slowly and then crashed. So it was sort of a little bit shocking because none of us, not me for sure, saw it coming, and it shakes you up. All of a sudden your house trembles, everything. And a lot of money I had made disappeared.
So what percentage of your net worth at that point did you lose in the
90%.
90%.
Yeah, 90%. I have big enough net worth to still have plenty of money to live forever, but 90% of the money disappeared. But I made some of it back, but I never got back to where I was before.
So, but when the prices were really high at the peak of the boom, did you not see it coming? Because was it not very, didn't you find it hard to believe that the prices of these internet stocks would go up by so much?
Well, so I was into 20 companies. It wasn't that one company. If one is high, all 20 of them are high. So I was very diversified in my portfolio, and so I learned since then, the creating wealth is not same as preserving wealth. To create wealth, you concentrate your bet, you take risks, invest in risky ventures, and you make them happen. To preserve wealth, you diversify your bets, not one bet, and you don't take risks. Preserving means, so I was an entrepreneur who was used to taking risks. This company disappears, no problem, I have 19 other. If I lose 50%, still no problem. So my mindset was, I have a diversified portfolio, but later I realized that the diversified portfolio was not diversified because it was all in technology, all in the high tech. So I've since then learned that you have to diversify into different industries, you have to diversify into different geographies, and so creation of wealth is different than preservation of wealth, and most of the entrepreneurs are into creating wealth, not preserving wealth.
So, like you said, you took a lot of risks. It was a risk going from here to the US with $8. It was a risk when you were starting up in Silicon Valley as a first generation immigrant, and then you went on taking risks. So how have you thought about which risk to take and not? Is there a framework that you have developed over the years?
It's why, like I said before, I've learned to play the wealth preservation game a little bit. But I am an entrepreneur, I mentor entrepreneurs, and that's the risk I fully understand now. I fully understand the risk, and so let me tell you, playing it safe is the most risky thing you can do. You can sit out of the AI business, you can sit out of and say, I'm not going to go to America. The risk taking is required to go somewhere, make things happen. And so you start to calculate the risk. You start to make sure that you're not putting your family at risk to the point where you're not able to feed, you're not able to buy a house. So you start to preserve enough No matter what happens, I will always be able to live forever, and not need money. I am there. I will never need to whatever, didn't make any money ever again. So that part is done. But I'm still doing the investment in startups. I'm still producing winners and still having tons of fun.
You had a chance to invest in Hotmail with Sabir Bhatia and you didn't. So what happened?
So Sabir Bhatia, Hotmail was doing well in terms of customers, but it had zero revenue. And he was signing up 60,000 new mail users every day and costing more money, more servers, more bandwidth, but no revenue. And his model had no prospect of any revenue. There was no revenue source. And so when I'm talking to him, Sabir, how would you make money? Why are we investing so much money? Why can't we make money on the 60,000 users? And he kept saying, if we have 10 million users, it will be worth a lot. What do you mean it will be worth a lot? We can upsell stuff to them. But Sabir, you have nothing to upsell. And so, but he and I agreed that he will start charging $1 per month from the users, and I'll invest. So we had agreed, so the work was being done, and I went on a vacation, went on a trip to India. About a week after I left, I saw the news that Microsoft had made an offer to acquire Hotmail for $400 million. That's when I realized the asset he had built, the point he made, it would be worth a lot. That asset in the hand of Sabir was not worth much, but Microsoft had a lot to upsell. Microsoft had spent $2 billion to build the MS-NET, and they only had 1 million users, and Sabir had 10 million users. So Microsoft was very happy to pay $400 million to that 10 million users, only $40 per user. And they had spent $2,000 per user to build the MS-NET, right? So Microsoft tries, that's when I realized an asset has a different value in the hand of different owner. Microsoft acquired him, and that, by the way, the whole .com boom during. All of a sudden people say, oh, you don't need to have a revenue to have a lot of value. So everybody started to grow. So a lot of companies that formed had no revenue. They were consuming a lot of cash. They were high valuations, and all of a sudden, there was no exit, and that caused the .com crash.
So today, what do you feel? Is it that profitable startups which are most attractive to you, or would you invest in a startup that's guzzling a lot of cash? Would you invest in one of these LLM startups?
Well, we have done. So startups have zero revenue to start with, and as a result, they have zero profits to start with. But at some size, their model should start to produce revenue, should start to produce the profitable unit models, and eventually at some size the company should become profitable. So we have to invest in companies that don't make profit, but the goal is to become a profitable company 2 years out, 3 years out, and grow profitably. I don't understand the companies which never become profitable. Why would you bother doing a company which will never become profitable? I don't care how large you are. If you're not producing profits, how are you going to survive? We had this issue with Paytm, right? Paytm went public at $20 billion valuation because he was able to hype it up. Paytm is worth about $8 billion now. It's been 2 years, 3 years since he went public. And so he's now working hard to make it profitable, right? Eventually, shareholders want to see profits coming out of the company. The only reason businesses exist are to make profits. Your business won't survive if you don't make profits. I don't care if you're a startup. At what size you stop being a startup?
OpenAI might go public at $1 trillion of valuation and not be profitable, right?
Yeah. We'll see if they can sustain that. I saw Uber suffer. I saw, WeWork suffer. I've been, I can list you, 50, 60 companies. Private markets are different than public markets. If you go public, the shareholders expect profits.
So, did you have a chance to invest in any of these companies which went bust? WeWork?
I have invested in many, many companies which have done very, very well. I mean, how many companies? I have done over 200 investments, right? Red Bus here, I was early investor. Policy Bazaar, I was early investor. And we have done many, many companies in India which have done very, very well.
Sir, I think you have said that it's not the business model that you look at more, but it's the person you are investing in, the founders. So what is it that you look in a founder?
So let me tell you about business model and technology. The technology is always changing, always evolving. Markets are always changing, always evolving. So investing in a technology, a business model, doesn't make sense. An entrepreneur is a person who looks at all that stuff and makes it happen. So the goal is to see if a person is entrepreneurial. Does he have the leadership skills? Is he focused on building a profitable company? Is he a creative, innovative person? So if once I started to convince myself, the person is entrepreneurial, between two of us, him and me, we can sharpen our business plan. We can sharpen our thinking. We can hire technology player. Everything is changing except the entrepreneur. So you have to have one constant. So your bet has to be this person. Will make it happen. Even as the technology changes. I describe an entrepreneur as a person who is driving a car on a mountain road at night. When it's dark, and the only visibility is the headlights. The road is turning, the road is making hairline bends. He stays on the road. He drives. So he's a driver. So you want a driver who stays on the right, who doesn't go off the road, who doesn't, trash, right? So bet is on a person as it is on the technology or a market.
And a lot of founders in tech, they go on to become investors. So how are these two, how are founding a company and investing in startups linked? Do they require the same or different characteristics in a person?
A founder understands the startup process. He understands the ups and downs. He understands the frustration that founders have, and he's able to anticipate, the value, that person might create. If you have never been an entrepreneur, you're better off investing in stock market or late stage companies, because you get worried about, hey, there's no value, there's no revenue, there's no product here. So the founders made good VCs, but not all of them made good VCs. The founder who starts to mature, who has taken the company public, who has sold the company, who has seen the whole cycle, versus a founder who hasn't seen the whole cycle yet.
But sir, a founder's life is a very active life, right? They are operators. They make things happen all the time. Whereas a VC is very restrained, makes a few deals a year. So how difficult or how different is it, transitioning from a founder to a...
So I'm not talking about becoming full-fledged big fund VC. I'm thinking about becoming angel investor. I'm thinking about becoming the early stage small fund investor. A founder matched with a senior person as a team makes a good VC fund. Within the fund you have a stable financial drive and a dynamic founder. So between two of them, they have the full skill set they need to find the winners and to make them happen. It's very, very rare a founder will be able to grow up to a large scale investor. Because he is not when all the companies grow, they become they need a different attitude. A founder is still thinking about startup, still innovator, disruptor. So he becomes not very helpful when the company starts to grow and become more stable, right? So you need to have partners. But on the other hand, there's a new opportunity, there's a new startup all the time where he can add a lot of value.
Sir, when you invest in companies in India, then you have this requirement a lot of times that they shift the headquarters to Delaware, the company structure at least. There has been a criticism of this in India, that investors in the US then would kind of corner all the IP and all the profits from the Indian startups, from the work of Indian founders and techies. How do you look at?
But that's all nonsense. That's all nonsense. There's nothing there when an entrepreneur starts a company. He has an idea. There's nothing there. There's no IP. There's nothing. So I want to invest in him. I'm American. I want to make sure that my investments are protected under American law. If he starts in India, I have to do lots of nonsense work to be able to invest in India and be subject to the bureaucratic nonsense. A lot of bureaucratic nonsense. RBI, SEBI, Ministry of Finance tax issues, company law issues. It is a mess. It's an absolute mess. I would never invest in India, and I don't. But that company, I tell the entrepreneur, hey, incorporate in Delaware, we have a Delaware company, there are no employees here, there is nothing here. All the, build the company in India as a wholly owned subsidiary, hire all the people, will do all the jobs in India, all the IP will be in India, but I'm not subject to American laws. I bring the other American investors to invest there in an American company. It's a paper shell, but all the value is in India. It's a dot's drift to the India, in that American investors are able to invest under the American laws into a company which is in India. All the jobs are in India, all the IP is in India. So when this company is, and by the way, especially if the company is selling to the American American customers, for American customers, it's easy to buy from American company, even though it's a paper shell. They think they're buying from American company. Stuff they're buying from Indian company. So it's like having a gift. You put a nice paper wrap around on it, a nice bow, and make it look like an American company to the American investors, and make it look like an American company to the American customers. But all the jobs, all the IP, everything is in India. But what's the problem? What's the problem with that? Right? What's the need of India at this time? The need of India is the jobs in India. The need of India is to employ a large number of youth. So now when you have the exit, you have an American company can exit on Nasdaq, can exit anywhere. It's hard to exit, but it's starting to happen in India. So I don't want to say hard to exit India. Maybe that's not a good enough reason. But back then, when you exit in America, and when you have invested in a startup, you pay zero taxes. You pay zero taxes. All the American investors who invested in that company don't pay any taxes. If you were an Indian company, you pay lots of taxes. So the benefits are there. You attract American capital. You attract American customers. And investments are tax free. But all the jobs, founder, everything is in India.
Sir, it has been around 10, 11 years that Startup India, the program has
10
started.
years.
10 years. And in these 10 years, we have come a long way, right? 100 unicorns, so dozens of IPOs have happened in the last couple of years of tech startups. And yet you are saying that even now it's difficult for an American investor to invest in an Indian startup.
1,000 times more difficult. 1,000 times more difficult than it used to be.
1,000 times more difficult than it used to be.
Yeah, we had this Mauritius route, where you could set up a company in Mauritius, which invested in India, and it was tax-free in India. There was no issues, no laws, they shut down the Mauritius route. When you invest in India now, all sorts of rules and regulations. See, India wants to not only build startups, they also want to build their own VC ecosystem. So to build their own VC ecosystem, they made it very hard for the foreign VCs to invest in India.
Is it important to have a local VC ecosystem?
Well, it will be very nice to have local VCs, but Indians don't invest in startups. They invest in gold. They invest in land. They are not risk takers. If I'm going to have 10 million entrepreneurs in India, you think Indian VCs can provide the capital for 10 million entrepreneurs? If each one needs $1 lakh, that's $1 trillion. We need to have laws to have all the world's savings being invested in Indian startups, so we can have 10 million startups, so we can employ 200 million Indians. Our goal should be to create jobs and wealth in India, not worry about anything else. When you start to worry about other things else, you slow down the process. Yes, we have 200,000 startups in India. We are a country of 1.4 billion people. In America, about 2% of the population is entrepreneurs. In India, if you do the math, if 1% of the population was entrepreneurs, that would be 14 million entrepreneurs. So we are very happy that things have improved from before. But they have only improved marginally because we have made it very, very hard. Are we happy being 200,000 startups with 100? So I think differently. India's future is entrepreneurship. We have to be thinking, how can we produce massive entrepreneurship in India? Our entrepreneurs have not even had any impact on all the major metros yet. They haven't gone to certain tier cities, they haven't gone to third tier cities, they haven't gone to fourth tier cities, they haven't gone to villages.
So the focus is also now a lot on IP creation in India, deep tech.
Again, nonsense. You don't eat IP. IP doesn't pay the bills. Jobs do. India's need is jobs, high quality, well-paying jobs. When you create IP, how does IP impact the life of people in villages?
But isn't the location where the IP sits, isn't that where the value accrues?
IP has a 3-year, 4-year shelf life before it becomes meaningless. Technology is changing so rapidly. What I think is IP today is useless tomorrow. Jobs are paying. See, so let me give you a couple of examples. India didn't let the phone things happen in India because Sam Pitroda wanted to have our own switches, our own thing. $10 billion invested in Center for CDOT, right? What happened at the end of those $10 billion and 7-8 years that Sam Pitroda was running that one? We ended up with ISD, one telephone per village was the goal, and that's what we had. You have one phone per village. You can not even talk to anybody else in your village because you only have one phone, and you can only talk to one person in the other village. It's useless. And I was saying at that time, why the hell do we have to spend $10 billion of our own money to do the ID? Take the available, cheap, reliable technology and implement and provide phone for everybody. Sam and I debated that, as long as Communist Party was in power, Sam won. And BJP came to power in 2001, my argument won, and Bajpayee made the changes and allowed phone companies to be set up like that. Bring your technology, please provide phones to all our people. Zero money was spent by the government of India. Everybody has a phone. But tell me what's wrong. Did Sam's IP creation was better than Sam's IP down the drain? 80s and 90s technology down the drain. Seriously, IP makes you feel good. IP makes you feel good. The need at the moment was that all Indians should have phone using available technology. Need at the moment right now is all Indians should have a jobs, so they can pay their bills. So when you start to think about IP doesn't. You don't eat IP. It makes you feel good. It doesn't do anything for you.
This question is a lot more important today when AI is happening, and there is a lot of discussion in India about we not yet having any significant big LLM startups.
Yeah, that's nonsense again. Yeah, then even if you do the LLM, what would they do? So let me go back to the IT industry. Same thing happened in 90s and early. Oh, we don't do any products. We are techno tourists. We are just doing services. We employed 5 million people, build an industry which is worth $300 billion that pays for petroleum that we import. Without that, we'll be nowhere. It was all done by services. We became the implementers of the IT applications all over the world. Y2K problem. Same thing will happen with AI. Everybody would need it, and Indians will become implementers, and they will make huge amount of money, huge amount of jobs in India. Eventually, we will be rich enough to invest in R&D of our own to do new stuff. You don't want to be investing in R&D only in the IP, which is replacement for what they are doing. Is reinventing the wheel over and over and over. We need to use our strength. Our strength is large number of smart people. When they work, they create huge value. Let them work for the American companies and create huge value and they pay. India is a technology powerhouse because we have done that. If go back to earlier days, we invested huge amount of money in Bhabha atomic research. We spent huge amount of money in ISRO. They produce no value that you could feel for the average Indian. India stayed poor, Indians are still poor. Of course, we had the atom bomb. Of course, we were able to set satellites in space, but they had no impact on the life of average Indian, right? But now we have opened that up. We have opened up the space to the entrepreneurs. We have opened up the the atomic research to the nuclear research to the entrepreneurs. We have opened up the defense research to the entrepreneurs. You will see the impact. You will see the impact. The fact that you are able to produce technology, especially the same technology that others have done, you are reinventing the wheel, and others don't want to share that technology with you. It's not same as economic development for the masses. Economic development for the masses, the people are in the villages, people in third tier, fourth tier cities having a quality of life improvement. I need to bring latest technology. So let me tell you two stories. We set up this Kanwal Rekhi Rural Entrepreneurship Center in Nizamabad. There was a news, right? Our goal is to train micro entrepreneurs who go back to their villages, go back to their cities, and change their life. And I'll tell you two stories. This one young guy, 22-year-old, who was trained at our center, he went back to his village and he realized all the tools used by all the farmers, including his parents and uncles, are very primitive. All the houses still are using lamp for lights at night. He started to bring in the solar panels, batteries, start to electrify the houses. He started to use solar panels and batteries and to power the tube wells. And then he started to redesign the tools. And within a year or two, the incomes more than tripled in that village. And the people from the neighboring villages, farmers from the neighboring villages, can you please help us? And now he has a company in his village which is doing 5 crore in revenue, and 70,000 farmers are using his tools. That's what I'm saying. That's what we need to do. Send the smart people back to second, third tier cities, empower them, enable them to use the latest technologies, latest ideas, to uplift their life, don't worry about the IP.
Because sir, IP, it is said that now it is becoming more important from a security, geopolitics standpoint also.
Yeah. So that's a different reason and different value proposition, but don't confuse that with creating jobs and wealth in India for masses. I need to have government spend some money to produce the IP I need to use for national defense. I fully agree on that one. But for God's sake, we should not forget about 1 billion Indians who are left behind. How do I uplift their life? How do I help them?
Yes, sir. So I also want to understand, like you said, when you landed in America, there was a reluctance to see Indians as capable. Indians were not being able to rise up the ladder in corporate America. Then what changed? When did the switch flip?
So 1966 famine in India. Very few people who were born, they don't even know. We had a famine in India. America was shipping millions of tons of wheat to keep Indians from dying. The image of India when I went to America was a land of snake charmers and a land of beggars. That image has changed because people like us did well over there, then people like Narayana Murthy and Premji did well here. The image of India, brand of India now is a land of entrepreneurs and land of technology savvy people. The image has totally changed. Mostly because we earned our rights to be a land of entrepreneurs by doing things, smart things. So I think America needs Indian talent, whether we go over there and do it or whether we implement from India. So we have global capability centers being built all over India, smartest people, and let them come, let them set them up, let them employ our people. These people are getting trained in the latest technology, latest things. Many of them will become entrepreneurs. We should have patience. We should have a long-term perspective. 20 years from now, so our thinking should be, we should play the long game. India has just become number 4 economy in the world. India will become number 3 economy in the world in 3 to 4 years.
5-6 years. Yeah.
5 years. Are we happy being number 3 forever? We were number 1 in 1800 when the British took over. Can we dream to become number 2? Can we dream to reclaim our rightful place of being number 1? I'm not saying now, 50 years from now. What do I need to be doing now to get back to my rightful place of being number 1? I need to make sure all the Indians are employed. I need to get rid of all the poverty. I need to make sure every Indian is educated with the latest technology. Look at what happened in India from 1947 to 1991. In 1947, we were 2% of world's GDP. We invented space, we invented nuclear stuff, and we were down, and we built out steel plants, and we were down to 1% of world's GDP in 1991. We lost ground under our own government because we didn't invest in education, we didn't invest in healthcare, we didn't invest in infrastructure. We got the IP in nuclear, we got the IP in space, It doesn't pay the bills. We invested only $1 billion in IIT, all the IITs put together from 1947 to 1991. How is it, you don't do the, we spent $300 billion in public sector investments. You can do your calculations. That $300 billion produced no wealth. Marginal numbers of 2, 3, 4, 5 billion jobs in a country of 1 billion people. We would have been much better off investing in our people. If that's the point I'm making, we should, when you start to think about nonsense, we need to own IP, we need to do this, we need to do that. We are doing that at the expense of investing in our people, making sure our people have good education, good jobs. China's whole thing is built upon China has 100% literacy. China has top-notch universities now. Chinese universities are doing better than American universities, right? You saw that news this week. China had no university in top 10, now they have 6 in top 10. because they've been investing in education. India is now in top 40.
But China has always also been heavily investing in R&D, developing their own
No,
technologies.
they were not investing in R&D development. That's the point I want to tell you. They were not. They were taking American technology and using that to make China happen. They were taking American investments and American technology. China started to invest in R&D only in the last 15 years. Once they got rich, when they had the money, they started to say, they are playing the long game. See, they said 30 years out, 40 years out, we need to be number one. And now America is finally noticing that, and that's why you see the reaction. China played long game. India wasn't paying attention. It wasn't playing long game. And that's what we ought to do. Yeah, we ought to use what's available to improve the life of our people. We ought to start investing. By the way, I don't want to say India is not playing the long game. India is finally building the infrastructure. India went from 5 IITs to 23 IITs. Can we go to 100 IITs? Can we go to 1,000 IITs over the next 20 years? Yeah, we went to from 500 entrepreneurs to 2 lakh entrepreneurs. Can we do a million entrepreneurs by 2030? Can we do 10 million entrepreneurs by 2047?
So, sir, what do we need to do to get there?
There are smart people here. Yeah, we need to have people like me advising the government what to do. Don't think about IP generation should have a reason. I need IP generation for defense purposes. I need to be able to have my own drones. I need to be able to have my own missiles. But that's not same as I need to have AI stuff. LLM stuff. I need to make sure every Indian engineer is able to implement using the available LLMs for the rest of the world, so we can have jobs for all of them.
That is true. But I think what the view is, the opposing view is that if we don't have our own LLMs, then at some point we will lose the ability to have our own cultural moves.
Everybody in the world would be dependent upon our talent to be implementing their solutions. We will have millions of Indians who are very good in AI, IT. The stuff will emerge. If there are entrepreneurs, those guys are becoming entrepreneurs and they will start doing it. When you start to become impatient, you start to do what we did with Sam Pitroda. Give him $10 billion and he produces technology which cannot be sustained, that goes stale overnight. Let entrepreneurs make money by servicing the world's needs, gain the knowledge, gain the confidence, and let some of them step forward and say, hey, I can do better than them. You don't want to be reinventing anything that has already been done. You want to be adding on top of what they've done, doing incremental new stuff. Innovation means new stuff. You're not re-implementing what somebody has already done. And by the way, most of the AI in America is being developed by Indian Americans. Find a way to bring them back. That's what China did.
How do we bring them back?
China brought all the professors, all these things there, by offering them American salaries. Come back to China and please do the same work at same salaries that you're making in America. In India, we haven't thought through that. We have brains. We ought to be finding a way to bring them back to India.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for your time. On that note, something you would like to highlight from your book? What is the central message of your book? If you would entrepreneurs take a message. My
central message on the book is Kanwal Rekhi the only Indian capable of doing what he did? Or are there millions and millions of Kanwal Rekhis in the villages, in second tier cities, third tier cities? How do we enable, empower them to achieve their potential? And I tell those people, you can do it too. My background was very ordinary background. I dreamt big and I made it happen. You can dream big and make it happen too. So the book is aimed at inspiring people to dream big. Don't let anybody tell you what that you cannot do this or you cannot do that. Don't make it happen. And my message to the government is, for God's sake, focus on enabling 10 million entrepreneurs rather than worry about IP and all that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.